Okay, this is the finance meeting for Wednesday, February 10th. We have in attendance Councillor Omar Gomez, Councillor Peg Conniff. We have Jen Ramsey, who is the Executive Director at Easthampton Media, and we have Jen Gallant, who is the City Treasurer. Those are the folks who are in attendance this evening. So we will call the meeting to order, and I will ask for a motion to approve the minutes of February 1st.
So move.
And I will second that. And we'll take a vote. Omar?
Yes.
And I'm an aye. Okay, the minutes pass. Just also, anybody watching and those here, Councillor Rist, who is the chair of this committee, could not make it this evening, so it will just be Councillor Gomez and myself. All right, we have two items on the agenda to discuss tonight. One is for public access, our PEG account, and also another appropriation for the library. So I'm going to start with, even though it's more complicated, but since Jen is here, we'll start with the PEG access account appropriation, and I will do my best, or interdepartmental transfer, I'll do my best to summarize it, why we're getting this, Councillor Gomez, and Jen or Jen, Jen with one N or Jen with two N's, feel free to correct me. This is a semi-complex issue. And the reason it's complicated is because we've never had to do this before. Typically, we have a contract, Easthampton Media has a contract with Charter, as the city has a contract with Charter. In that contract, I say we because I'm on the board of directors of Easthampton Media, Easthampton Media is paid an amount of money per subscriber. And that money, typically, because the contract is with the city, that money would go to the city. The city would turn around and write a check for Easthampton Media on a quarterly basis, and everything, it was kind of a pass-through, more or less. And what has occurred, and that's worked fine for these many years, what has occurred, and that, just to back up, that is the money that Easthampton Media works off of. That's their budget, is that money. So we rely on that money quarterly to come in, because that's how we operate. So we were informed earlier in January that there is an MGL that requires that this account become a receipts reserved, or rather than a revolving account, which is what it had been. The law, we actually apparently approved the law a while ago, but it was never sent to DOR. So DOR had to affirm it. But because that never happened, we were just all going along on our merry way. Well, apparently this year, DOR is cracking down on that kind of scenario. And so they're kind of coming back to municipalities and saying, you have got to set up a revolving account. So this is not something we've really had to deal with before. This is the first time. The key to the revolving account is we as a city council cannot approve an appropriation that is not already in the account for Jen to spend. So in other words, we can only approve up to the limit of money that's in that account. As quarterly payments come in, we could do it 4 times a year, and every time a quarterly payment came in, we could do an interdepartmental transfer. We think it's probably going to work better if we wait until it kind of fills up like it is now. It's at $132,000, and then appropriate it possibly twice a year. And that would be the money that Easthampton Media would run their organization off of. We think that will work. If we find that it doesn't, and Easthampton Media is running low and they need that, it's roughly $50,000 to $55,000 a quarter. And if we had to, we could do this quarterly, but we're trying to be efficient, and we think it will build up, and then we can do an appropriation. So that's the kind of the backstory to why we have this interdepartmental transfer. There actually is no money being transferred from one account to the other. It's kind of just on paper, but we can't access the money unless it's in the 5400 account. I don't know. We can't actually move it over to Easthampton Media until we move it into that on paper. Jen with one N, is that sort of the summary? Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, no, actually, that's pretty much the summary. Receipts, you know, it's really just kind of an accounting thing, you know, and
Yeah.
you know how the government is with their buckets.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And the important thing for anyone watching to understand is this is not money coming out of taxpayer money. It is Charter cable subscriber money that Charter has to pay municipalities based on subscribers, and that money has to be used for PEG access. So wait, somebody wants to get in here. So this is by right and contract Easthampton Media's money.
So a question. So the 132,000 can vary between years, like one year can be less or can be more because depending on how many people subscribe to the, yes.
Yeah,
And
it changes.
we have an average of for the past 5 years. So that way, or I'm throwing a number, but kind of that we know that we can cover the cost of the Easthampton Media for the next a few years because the average is this amount.
Yeah. So Easthampton Media is only going to get the amount that Charter gives us. Yep. So Charter quarterly, and I think they sent us a check in November of roughly 50,000 and change. It might be 53, it might be 49. It depends on how many subscribers are there.
Okay.
And a couple of years ago, it was a little higher. And as streaming has taken hold.
Yeah, and that's why that's the reason I'm asking.
Going down.
Because a lot of families are moving to streaming. And that's the question about average, like how average is going to be that number. And if and maybe this is not related to what we're going to do today, but is the Easthampton Media have any plan for the next few years? Because a lot of people are moving to streaming.
Yes. Yeah. You should come to our board meetings, but yes.
Okay.
This is actually a concern.
Because I don't go to a lot of meetings, I should add that one.
You should add that one. No. And Jen, you can jump in here.
Okay. So on average, over the past few years, we receive about $200,000 per year for our operating costs. And that pays for our facility, equipment, staff, you know, all the operations of an organization. So about 200,000 a year. As we see the numbers kind of get lower, we are thinking about other ways to fund our nonprofit organization. But technically, public access and community media, which is the new term for public access, is primarily funded by this TV cable subscriber money. So we've never really had to go beyond that to fund our organization because it's literally, that's what it's for. It's to fund your public access TV station. So yeah, future plans to make more money, grants, fundraising, stuff like that.
Thank you.
I see Councillor Rothschild has joined us. I don't know, Councillor Rothschild, if you have any questions around the PEG access account, or if you're just listening.
I'm just listening.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so any other questions? So Councillor Gomez, this is really creating that transfer of the money into the account. Then the next thing is that a check will be written to Easthampton Media from that account, kind of like a purchase order. And the money will go over to Easthampton Media, which will be great because we've been waiting for our November check for a while. So this will be very helpful for us as we move forward. So that's what this is effectively doing.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yep.
You want to
Makes
make a
sense.
motion?
And that money is coming from, we're gonna move it from where to where?
It's from the PEG, they're both called PEG access account. I don't know, is one called receipts reserved and one called something else?
So it doesn't matter for the motion now, just, that's what I'm asking for the motion.
Jen, you're on
Yeah,
mute.
we cannot hear you, yeah.
She's trying to find the mute button. Do you want me to unmute you?
Are you in the computer?
I'm good.
There we go.
Because
I'm
some,
good.
I don't know, but because if I press the space bar, you can unmute it.
Ah, that's good to know.
Yep.
No, every now and then I get this little hand instead of the arrow, and it's like the hand doesn't actually click the mute buttons. It's weird. I don't know, technology. What was I doing? Okay,
What's the
actually
difference between the
I was
two
gonna
accounts?
pull up the I was gonna pull up the what do you call it? The motion so that I can see, because off the top of my head I don't remember which the two accounts are number wise.
Yep. So I don't know if the one is a revolving account, the other one is the receipts reserved account, and we're just moving it from revolving to receipts, and then from receipts, it goes out the door.
That is what I am thinking. I just want to, sorry. Of course, I looked at the email that Dan sent and it's only the agenda. So I'm getting the documentation current.
It's the difference, Jen, between 027.1210.4399 and 1210.5400.
Right. So 4399, that's perfect. That's exactly what I needed to know. 4399 is a revenue account. So when something comes in, obviously as revenue, we put it into the revenue account. You can't post an expense directly to a revenue account. So you have to move the money from the revenue account to the expense account and then pay it out.
Okay.
So it's all, it technically the same, it's all the same parent account, if you will. It's just the sub.
Is it like a journal entry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the motion should be like move $132,000 from revenue account to the PEG access account.
Sure.
That will be okay. So
let's go with that. Second.
Yeah.
Councilor Gomez?
Aye.
And Councilor Coniff is aye. So the motion passes for the creation of and transfer of money from the PEG revenue account to the PEG expense account. I like the name PEG. So thank you.
I don't know why.
Ramsey, thank you for coming and explaining that.
Yes, thank you.
I would guess, Jen, the next thing is for a purchase order to be done to get that money over to you. You may want to follow up with Lindsay to see how, I think once we vote this next Wednesday, you will get the money.
Okay.
So, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome.
Mayor, good timing. We're about to talk about the library. Well, we were about to talk about it till I just dropped the paperwork. So please hold. I'll be right back.
We wait for you.
Okay. So this is for the typical $10,000 budget amount that goes to the library that wasn't in the budget. Now, I'll let the mayor explain it. Dan can't be here, by the way, Mayor. So you're stuck with the B squad, me. So if you'd like to explain it, you're on mute. You're on mute. Hang on.
Okay, here we go. All right, so this this 10,000 is out of the cannabis relief fund as a longer term, I would say, appreciation and remembrance of the day of service for Martin Luther King Day, which was we were asked by the transition team and encouraged by MLK, the King Center, to do. I put this forward given the library's very consistent service to the residents Easthampton and the services that they have valiantly tried to keep up during a pandemic, and really, working on outreach and whatnot. So that said, the library is, as an organization, it is not a public department. It has connections to the city around benefits, and we do a lot of fiscal conduit work with them. And I just, everything is tight, and people, families, I hear all the time, like, the library has been there for us, and story time, and so I thought it was an apt literacy, and was an apt cause, and something that needed to be supported for a whole bunch of different reasons in the library as they transition to having a larger scope. It seemed like a good place to put cannabis money around education and literacy. So that's the request. The $10,000 that we put in to make the bare minimum requirement, we stopped doing that. So it's 100% pass through of our own money. So they give us the amount, we find the money in the city, and then it goes through. So we do not withhold 10,000 of city money and then try to make it up with, like, a gift from Williston is typical. So what happened this past year was Williston gave $10,000 and they gave it directly to the library.
Okay.
And they also support the library with financial services and investment for their money. And then this is an additional 10,000, for the however that formula is put together, and a preview as we go through looking at cannabis money and really to hold together a fragile support system and educational efforts that, if nothing else, shouldn't fail now around wellness and good healthy choices. I will be putting asking for more cannabis money to be appropriated to their programs for youth and teens, which have been, I think, a struggle all along. Right. So that is the thought behind my appropriation here.
Okay, that sounds great. I think it's an awesome idea. Councilor Gomez, do you have any questions?
The library can use only this money just for education purpose, right? Or they can use it for something else?
It's a great question. It's unrestricted. So under the host community agreement, education and the cannabis regulation, cannabis money can be used for community education, like to a community education facility.
Okay.
And that, so it's a great question. It makes a great point. I mean, the other, really, a lot of not-for-profits and libraries, you apply for grants or you get money from different sources, and they cannot be for administration and unrestricted funds for administration, right? So you might have this great curriculum, you bring on a staff, but you technically don't have a way. So this allows them to apply it to fill the holes, to whether it's supplies or, extra hours for the library staff that stands in the door and runs back and forth delivering books drive through. So,
okay.
Yes.
That's great. Great
Thank
question. Any other questions? Councilor Rothschild, just out of courtesy, do you have any questions? Or are you still just listening?
I'm just listening, enjoying your company.
Thank you.
Oh, you must be so bored. Okay.
Oh, wow. Very different than your picture, Counselor.
Nice.
Like it. Skateboarder.
Okay. So I guess we can go right forth into a motion then, Councilor Gomez.
Yes, I will make a motion if someone, let me wait.
Let me tell my family to get the phone.
That's great.
We're gonna get it now. I want to make a motion of 10,000 from move it from the cannabis fund to the library.
Okay, I'll second that. Counselor Gomez?
Aye.
Aye. Peg Coniff? All right, motion passes, and this will also, the recommendation will also go forward to the city council next Wednesday, the 17th. Are there any other, there's no other items on our agenda for today. We do have both of these appropriations for public hearing next Wednesday. And beyond that, I don't think we had anything else on our agenda, which is good because somebody else needs the Zoom account. But any closing remarks, Councilor Gomez?
No, I do not.
Mayor? Jen?
Thank you.
Okay,
It's
I'll take a
always good
motion
to see
to
you
adjourn.
guys.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, thank you very much.
Have a good
Bye.
night.
Have a good night. Bye.
Good night.